Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Monrovia City Council Recap. I'm Tyler Spicer. I'm joined today in the studio by Jason Willoughby. Jason, how are you?
Good to see you.
And Bayan Massoudi, how are you?
Great.
And I understand this is your first time being on the City Council Recap.
It is, yes.
Do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Bayan Massoudi. I'm a TV personality from Australia. I've just arrived in the city of Monrovia, here to do some TV shows, some media work, some red carpet hosting and the like. And I'm very excited to be living within the city of Monrovia. And hopefully you'll see me maybe doing some reporting or doing some live casting or attending some of the local events. So if you see me around, say hello. Love to meet you.
Outstanding. Well, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the recap, I just want to mention that you can be a part of the KGEM Recap team. All you have to do is send an email to kgem-tv@gmail.com. I like to think that we, have a lot of fun here. It's a good time overall. So if you're interested, and if you have time now that we're getting into the summer, send an email to kgem-tv@gmail.com and we'll get you plugged in. With that, we'll be covering the regular meeting of the Monrovia City Council, which was on Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. The meeting was called to order at 7:44 p.m. by Mayor Becky Shevlin. The invocation was by Pastor Roy Tucker. The Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Spicer, and the city clerk conducted roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez was absent. All other council members were present. From what I understand, there was nothing to report out of closed session except the fact that Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez was not present.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. From there, we had presentations and proclamations, which was at 7 minutes and 25 seconds into the meeting. Starting off with PR1, which is Pasadena Humane Society Pet of the Month. Mr. McManus from the Pasadena Humane Society brought a senior beagle, right? Is what it was.
And his name was Bagel.
Bagel, okay.
Yes.
Bagel the Beagle.
Bagel the Beagle, yes.
And so Mr. McManus had mentioned, if you have time to volunteer your time at the shelter, or even if you're interested in adopting, or I believe fostering, right?
Yeah.
Just reach out to the Pasadena Humane Society and they'll be able to help you out from there. But it's definitely good because, especially as we get closer to the 4th of July, a lot of dogs have a hard time with the fireworks. And so they are out on the streets. And so if you're able to volunteer your time, I think it'd be good, right?
Yeah, they had opportunities for people to adopt a dog for a weekend or on a more permanent basis as well. What I found really, really interesting on this one was they brought the Bagel into the middle of the council chambers and all the council staff got out of their seats and walked out. And everyone gave the dog a nice little pat and gave a little hug. And then they posed for a nice picture with the dog. It's quite not something I've ever seen at a council meeting happening before. So that was kind of interesting.
It happens almost every
meeting, right?
every month. Yeah.
Welcome to Monrovia.
There you go. Yeah.
From there, we had PR2, which is proclaiming June 29th, 2026 as Juneteenth.
June 19th.
June 19th,
excuse
yes.
me. June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth, National Freedom Day. Councilmember Kelly and Spicer provided the proclamation for that. From there, we had PR3, proclaiming June 19th through the 25th as National Mosquito Control Awareness Week. I believe Mayor Shevlin provided information on that, right?
But I am disappointed. Becky has historically come into the council chambers in her mosquito costume. And I didn't see the mosquito costume this year, Mayor Shevlin. So hopefully
next year.
It'll come back in some form in the future.
And what, pray tell, does this mosquito costume look like?
It looks like a mosquito.
As in, like with the legs.
Oh,
right. Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
see. Wow. Okay.
If you're that curious, you can go back and check previous videos for the month of June to be able to see what that's like.
I was just surprised that we're rolling from Juneteenth right into Mosquito Control Awareness Week, like they're flowing from one into the other. So that was kind of interesting to me.
There you go.
And I was also puzzled by why we actually need a National Mosquito Control Awareness Week. Is this really a necessity? Like, why do we need to be so, are we aware of mosquitoes all year round? Why would we need a dedicated week just to be aware of mosquitoes?
Just because of the increase in the population with the standing water and the heat. And typically in these climates, that's when the mosquitoes really start to breed. And so they recommend tip, toss, and protect. Tip over anything that is has standing water in it, including pots around your yard, and toss out things that attract mosquitoes, and then also make sure you use sun protection, or not sun protection, insect protection. So
Spray.
I remember the mayor mentioning that a bottle cap full of water can breed mosquitoes, which was kind of interesting. I didn't know that fact, so that's a fun fact for the folks at home.
Yeah.
All right. From there, we had no student government report, and there were no changes to the order of business for the meeting.
There was just one change of pulling one of the
17.
Item 17 from the consent calendar.
Got it.
That was just the one thing.
From there, we had the consent calendar, which is at 28 minutes and 16 seconds into the meeting. There was a lot more than usual, right? I know there's usually between like 1 and 9, but there was like 23, I think, this time or more.
So the consent calendar, for those of you who don't know, are just things that come up, routine business items that including adopting minutes, including like payment of bills and all those types of things. And I think what's interesting is that when I look through all of the 20-something different items that were on the consent calendar, these are all the things that get annual renewals in the month of June that really are things that help make Monrovia kind of a special place to live. And I mean, things like, funding our historical society, including making sure that we have a volunteer center, housing displacement response, our Friday night street fair, our programs for, preserving our wilderness reserve, things like maintenance for all of our like city vehicles and such, sewer cleaning, just a bunch of other different types of things, which we just take for granted sometimes that are part of city business, but it does make like graffiti removal and different things like that. Right. It does make a big difference to have a city that actually can operate within its own boundaries and provide those services. Yeah. And if you've ever had an opportunity where you need to call on the city to have, a limb that fell down from your tree or something happened to a sign, honestly, the response by the city is so quick, and that's because we can house all those services within the city of Monrovia. Yeah.
And at face value, some of those administrative logistics may come across as very boring and mundane to the average viewer. But tonight, the three of us, Jason, Tyler, and myself, have sworn an oath to take this City Council recap and make it fun and energetic and exciting for all you folks at home. So stay tuned,
there you go,
because this is going to be the most exciting City Council recap you've ever seen.
All right.
Scouts honor.
There you go. From there, at 33 minutes and 50 seconds into the meeting, we had public input. There were over 6 speakers, and I think that took up a good amount of the meeting, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I mean, just generally, some of the people that spoke, we had Debbie Huffey talking about a parking issue on on a residential street. We had Mr. Pinto giving some comments about a Pride event that is happening in Monrovia this weekend. Karen Suarez talked about protections for the Monrovia trees and what trees do to our community.
Sorry, Jason. Sorry to cut you off here.
Please.
Are we going to go into some discussion to these items?
You can, yeah.
Okay, cool. Because there's some juicy goss in some of these that needs to be discussed.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
So do you want to do them one by one? So there was one where the Merchants Building Maintenance was awarded a contract by the city, and CCS, another company who had bid on this contract, didn't win it and protested the award of the contract. Now, this is kind of exciting and juicy. As a former project manager who's worked in the procurement realm, what actually happened here was an open tender was put out to the community. 3 companies put in bids on this. One company won it, who was the lowest bidding offer, and the highest bidding offer, who was the incumbent, who previously was awarded this contract, didn't win it. And they came forward and they said, "Verily, I doth protest. This I demand a recount." It was kind of like President Trump, who doesn't accept the results of the election. So these guys came forward and said, "We don't accept these results. We want a recount. It was confusing and blah blah blah, and we demand a recount." And the city council staff came forward and put forward a case saying, nope, they had plenty of time to review, they had plenty of time to ask questions, they had plenty of time to seek clarifications. They didn't do any of those things. They put in their bid, by the deadline, and unfortunately for them, they didn't win. Too bad, so sad. But this company, CCS, protested it nonetheless. But funnily enough, they didn't even show up to the council meeting. They had an opportunity to speak and advocate on their own behalf, and they didn't show up. So too bad for those guys.
Yeah. So
They missed out.
Maybe they'll rethink it next time, right?
Next meeting.
Yeah.
And you touched on David Pinto there as well. So he brought some interesting, very interesting comments. He came forward and he wanted to talk about the drag queen story hour that was happening at a private event, and he was quite, I guess, sheepish with his presentation, which was quite. It was fair, but he wanted to make sure that the books that were being read, because they were talking about pride and transgenders and drag queens and these kind of things, he wanted to make sure that the nature of the books that were being read at this event were in line with community standards. And he was very, very delicate in how he phrased his comments. And he did preface it by saying that, I know that I'm going to get labeled as a bigot and some other words that he used that I won't recall. But this was also very interesting, and he compared drag queens to clowns, which I thought was kind of interesting as well. Dylan Fike, the city manager, later, they didn't entertain this discussion right then and there, but later in the meeting, Dylan Fike put forward some comments saying that this bookstore event is a private gathering and the council doesn't filter what happens within the confines of this private gathering, and they have no say or input whatsoever, given that it's a private group that has rented a hall for their own activity, and that if people are concerned with the nature of the books that are being read at this activity, then they can feel free to choose not to attend. So this one was also a very, very interesting discussion for those that missed it.
Well,
Please.
It's not the first time that there's been a drag queen story hour in Monrovia. And
Nor will it be the last.
So I'll be there this weekend to enjoy the story hour.
Good for you. Enjoy it.
A couple other, there was a gentleman by the name of Sam Carmichael that talked about the Colorado Commons, which is a residential structure that's near a parking structure. Maybe perhaps there's some youth that might be going on the roof of the Colorado Commons and was just concerned about the safety of that and what's going on there. Celine Lockerbie, who is also a school board member in Monrovia Unified, was talking about the change that we had in our parking enforcements during street sweeping. There was a change recently to enforce that you may not park on the streets anytime on that side of the street during the posted hours, whereas there's been some leniency in the past where if the street sweeper has gone past, then it's okay to park there. And she was protesting or bringing into consideration, the $60 parking fee that you get if you're not causing any problem because a street sweeper has always gone by. And I would tend to kind of agree with that because I remember that in the past that was I would be, you can't park on my side of the street from like 8 until 11. And they would always come by at like 9 o'clock, and after 9 o'clock I could do that. Well, we can't do that anymore. So
it's basically just so I can make sure I understand. So throughout that entire time period, you're not allowed to park, even after if
that's what the new enforced rule is going to be. If it's posted from 8 to 11, you can't park there at any time, even if the street sweeper came by at 8:15.
Yeah. So City of Duarte did the same thing, I believe, last year, and there was pushback as Celine is doing here. And so I think after a while people get used to it, but I think this is pretty typical, right?
Hey, but that's the beauty of public comment.
Right.
That's the beauty of public comment. You can come and you can say your piece, and then most of the time you'll get a follow-up from somebody from the city itself.
Sure.
So if I understood you correctly, and I'm just cherry picking a specific element of your commentary there, if the street sweeper has come, achieved his goal, and left, even after that, the residents are not allowed to park their vehicles there.
Well, they can park, but they'll go to ticket.
That's a bit defying of logic. Because the whole purpose of having that 3-hour window is to allow the street sweepers to come and accomplish their task. If they've already accomplished their task, the reason for blocking out that section of street is no longer relevant.
Yeah.
Am I right? Or am I missing something here?
I am with you on that.
And I also think I don't know if this is the case, but maybe let's say it hasn't. I guess this wouldn't really apply, but maybe there's like a bit of a delay, right? So maybe it usually comes by around 8 o'clock on Myrtle, 8 a.m. on Myrtle. You see what I'm saying?
Right. So the time may vary on a week-by-week basis.
And so I think
but
they just had like that
it's
buffer.
visible if the street has been cleaned.
Right.
I mean, I'm asking the question. I don't know because I haven't paid attention.
Yes.
So after they've been there, you can look and you can say, "Oh, look, I can tell the street has been cleaned." Right.
And typically there's parking enforcement that will come by after the fact and ticket anybody, as opposed to she was recommending to have the parking go ahead of the street sweeper, and anybody who is parked there during that time would get a ticket, but rather than waiting from behind and coming up afterwards. So
I mean, that seems logical and reasonable to me. I mean,
well,
if it's like 2 hours ahead of time, maybe not. If it's like, I don't know, 15 minutes ahead of time, that seems like a reasonable request that she's making.
yeah. Well, it's in the city's hands. We'll see where it goes from there. Stay tuned.
Make good choices,
Stay
city. Make
tuned.
good choices.
Yeah.
Maybe the city can put Celine as the parking enforcement supervisor.
Yeah, because she doesn't have enough to do already on the school.
Parking enforcement supervisor there.
There was we had some return visitors. Sherry Lochner and Martha Mack came to once again advocate for immigrant rights and talking about the death of Mr. Montoya last year, and
those two really need a good pat on the back for the effort they're putting in. I haven't seen them before, but
they're very passionate. They're at every meeting.
The fact that they come forward and they advocate on, I guess, against ICE and some of its
Well, I guess the treatment
actions
of immigrants
is certainly a commendable conduct.
the ongoing number or the raising number of deaths that are happening in ICE custody keeps on going up, and they're reading the names of the people. So, and then finally, the last person that came up and spoke with was Adelina Yoder, who brought up an idea which I didn't even know about, and I guess it's starting. We're going to have a traveling table.
Yep.
In Monrovia, where public can buy tickets or sign up for tickets to this table that's going to, I guess, go around the city at different places where strangers can come get together and get to know one another and break bread, if you will. And I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Why not?
I'll sign up for that. That'd be great.
Do it.
Yeah. And that was public comment.
There we go.
Yeah.
From there, we had public hearings and meetings. So for a majority of the meeting, and we usually don't have this, where there's just a lot of public hearings and administrative reports, but that took up a bulk of the meeting. So a lot of policy and a lot of discussion that we usually don't see for these meetings. So starting off with PH1, Historic Landmark HL 172 and Mills Act Contract MA 160 for property located at 115 May Avenue by property owners Francisco and Rebecca Garcia.
And there was also another Mills Act that was at 225 Highland Place by Elisa Lau and David Liu. The Mills Act is a historical designation that you can apply for, which gives you some really good tax benefits here in town, like really significant tax benefits.
So getting that designation of being a historic landmark has tax benefits.
It does.
So that's why they're doing it.
But you also have to agree to the maintenance of the property itself and keeping the street-facing facade and everything still within the historical thing. So you can't do it and then completely renovate the house and make it look different. So you've got different rules that you have to follow. And both of those were passed unanimously.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I was curious as to what the motivations were between getting this historic landmark designation. I was puzzled by that.
Being a city as old as we are, and homes being built, well over 100 years ago, it just, as you drive down the streets, you'll notice these homes that look as if they were, built
in another era.
but still maintained, and it's really nice. And so I'm not sure the total number of Mills Act that we do have in the city now. And it is a good amount. And every year we add some more to it. But it's a big commitment. Yeah. You might save some money on taxes, but it's a financial commitment to maintain the property to look historical as it is today. So yeah.
Well, as long as the maintenance investment is less than tax benefit, then it's a net positive for the homeowner.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
From there, we had PH3, which was a tentative track map and minor exception to subdivide one lot into 14 airspace condo units and allow the use of common recreation space as a substitute for private recreation space for the property located at 1232 South Mayflower Avenue. Mayor Shevlin, she recused herself during this portion of the meeting. So Councilmember Kelly provided the oversight for this portion of PH3. From there, we had PH4, adoption of the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan, PH5, confirming the levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 26 through 27. And go ahead.
Oh, for the landscaping, are we PH5 or PH4?
PH4 was adoption of
That's the water, and then
there was 5 and 6, right? Were the
so lighting and landscape was PH5, which was interesting is that we as Monrovians, pay an assessment every year that covers that, and there is no change in the pricing structure for that for taxpayers this year, which is always great. And then the maintenance district, the park maintenance, went up 48 cents per parcel next year. So you can assume that the 48 extra cents that we're spending this year, and it varies from parcel size, will go to maintaining our 9 beautiful parks that we have here in Monrovia.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that we covered PH6 kind of in that, right? Next, we had reports of council members. I don't know if we had much input there. I know usually in previous meetings there's a little bit of discussion there, but
there was an interesting concept there. Dylan Fike, the city manager, came forward and provided an update on the Freedom of Information request that they had made for the CHP, California Highway Patrol, and I assume it was pertaining to the gentleman who was evading capture from ICE agents, if I'm not mistaken, who ran across the highway and I believe was hit by a vehicle.
Killed on the highway.
So he made a comment about the Freedom of Information request that they'd put into CHP. They said that they're yet to receive any tangible, substantive response from CHP other than acknowledgement of their request. And there was a question put forward saying, well, can they indefinitely keep kind of like kicking the can down the road? And that was a question that I didn't hear if there was an appropriate answer to that question, but I think the city will continue following up with a request for that information from CHP.
Yeah, Dylan provides an update every time, on that because it's a concerning issue to a lot of our citizens.
Understandably so.
Yeah. He also wanted to let everybody know that next Thursday at 7 p.m., as many of you know, or if you don't know, the World Cup, World Football or World Soccer is going on, and the third match for the United States versus Turkey, as they would prefer to be called, is going to be, they're going to do a big Library Park watch Thursday, 7 p.m. At Library Park. Bring your blankets, bring your chairs. They'll have different activities and stuff that are going to be sent out there, and should be fun. I think I'm going to go.
And you might just see me there doing some presenting.
Oh.
If you're lucky, you might catch me walking around the park with a microphone. If you see me, come up and say hello.
Careful. It's going to be jam-packed.
It's fine.
That's right.
Bring it on.
And then Councilmember Belden made a couple of quick comments about attending different graduations this time of year. And then he and Mayor Shevlin went on a field trip surveying California water infrastructure, I guess, if you will, where they flew up to Sacramento with other people from the state and drove down from Sacramento all the way back down here and took a look at all the different things. So they talked about that. Larry Councilmember Spicer talked about a lot of summer things coming up. We've got our summer concerts in the park. We've got those ahead. We've got them at both
21st June.
Yeah, those are lots of fun. Summer movies are back. Yeah. We've got the summer movies happening at Rec Park, which is always fun. Of course, 4th of July, 250th anniversary or birthday, I guess, if you will, for the country.
Independence Day.
They've got a big party planned for July 4th at Library Park. There's a family hike and cookouts coming up, which is always a popular event. I don't know if you've ever done it before, but it's a fun event. Teens, the spot activities on Friday for 12 to 17-year-olds to hang out at Library Park, which is always a good thing to keep those teens from getting into trouble. And then there was the MAP program had a very successful block party that was just last weekend. Last weekend at Julian Fisher Park, where there was hundreds of people that showed up, and it was really fun.
Good time.
Yeah, good times. Dr. Kelly, Councilmember Kelly, also talked about the block party. She also attended the pool opening, right? So now, for those of you who don't know, the city of Monrovia with the Monrovia Unified partnered together to rehabilitate the Monrovia High School pool that is in bad need of attention, and it's back up, it's running, it's got open hours for open swim, and so she attended the pool opening, and that's great. So it's a lot of fun things to do. They've got times for recreational play, but they've also got time for organized swimming and things like that. You can check out the city website to learn more information about that.
Definitely.
Mayor Shevlin talked about the city of Monrovia's commission appointments. This is the time of year where we appoint different commissioners to the different commissions around the city. And we talked about the individual appointments and the extension of those. So congratulations to all those commissioners that are new or have renewed their position. Thank you for the work that you do. What else did she talk about? She talked about, the Golden Brain. Did you hear
The
about
fire
this
department,
one?
right?
The fire
Yes.
department, yeah.
Only this is 2 out of the entire country, right? I believe.
There's 2, and I don't know if it's a country, but I think it's the county or the state where they recognize the fire department and the police department for when an individual in the community has a stroke and it's related to a brain issue, the speed at which you can get from the incident to the hospital to get treatment. And this was awarded by Arcadia USC, and I think that's great. I mean,
it really is. One of the things I can say is I know Monrovia Police Department. And this is goes back to where I think they were awarded in the early '90s for being one of the first departments to carry AEDs in the patrol vehicles.
Oh, okay.
And that's really great because I know a lot of law enforcement agencies in the area do not carry AEDs in their patrol vehicles, and police officers are usually the first on scene for medical emergencies aside from the fire department. So it's great that we have that in place with our police department just to supplement the fire department in that, right? And our police and fire department, they do an outstanding job here in the city.
Amazing.
They're one of the best.
Amazing.
One of the best.
Yep. Hopefully you don't need them, but if you do, they're there in quick, speedy time.
Definitely.
Mayor Shevlin also talked about she is staying on as the chair of the Foothill Transit Board. She talked about that Waterfield trip, and then she said, "Happy Father's Day."
Yes.
So I said thank you to myself.
As I'm sure did all the fathers. That were
Of
present.
course,
Pat
yes,
on the back, right?
yes, yeah.
I continually remind my family that it's Father's Day this coming weekend.
Oh yeah.
Make sure they put their best foot forward.
Yeah. My son said to me as we walked into the market, and there was a sign, and it says, "Oh, it's Father's Day this weekend." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't have much time."
Chop, chop, son. Chop, chop.
I'm like, just be nice,
Get a move on.
and kind, and respectful. That's all I want.
There you go.
Yeah.
From there, we had administrative reports at 2 hours and 17 minutes into the meeting. AR1, fiscal year 26 through 27 budget update for just schedule of fees and other miscellaneous matters. Next, we had AR2, which is a little bit more important, the purchase of 2 new Pierce fire engines. I'll just keep it simple. I'm not going to get into all the details there. In an amount not to exceed $2.9 million, and also authorizing a contingency amount not to exceed $293,000. I believe the fire chief discussed the aging fire apparatus we have in the city. I know Station 102, I think they're the ones who are stuck with the older fire engines, so it's about time.
They talked about, it was interesting because now they're not going to get these new fire engines for
another just 2 years.
2 or 3 years, I think, because they have to be, specially ordered.
Right.
But then they'll replace those, and then the other ones come into the reserve because they always have to have reserve. And I just thought it was interesting that, they commit to having these fire trucks in service for over 20 years.
Right, and it's pretty hazardous, especially since we're in Southern California and we kind of run this risk. But I think in general, our public safety, the police department's very old. It was built in the 60s, I think.
Yeah.
Or even possibly prior to, and both fire stations are also pretty old. So just aging infrastructure, and I think over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see more and more of a need and requests from our public safety agencies for a larger budget to start to repair things.
Yeah,
right?
well, given the kind of the services they provide to our city, it's our taxpayers' money being put. I want good operational fire trucks.
Right, exactly. Definitely. From there, I believe that was it, aside from the adjournment, right? The next meeting is on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026 in the council chambers. The meeting was adjourned at 10:25 p.m. In honor of, I believe, 1 Monrovian and 2 family members of city workers,
City
right?
workers, yeah.
So with that, that's all I have. I don't know if you guys have anything.
You survived your first one. How did it go?
Walk in the park, my friend.
Walk in the park. Oh, and you're going to be walking in Library Park,
right, yeah,
for the World Cup thing next.
I will be. I'll be there for
next
summer
Thursday.
concerts in the park, Library Park, the movies in the park, the Independence Day.
all the things.
All the things.
All the things.
I'll be there for all of them.
All right. Well, thank you both for being here,
Thanks, Tyler.
and we'll see you on the next recap. Take care.
Thank you.